Hey YouTube family, it's Sarah, Less of Sarah. It's Saturday and I am coming to you with the video that I promised about what I am eating at 9 months post-op. If you follow my channel, this may not probably be news to you guys, but I thought I would put it together in a video because I know that often people will search YouTube for people who are, at a certain point in their journey to see what they're eating. So I thought I would make a separate video about that. I'm going to try and fit in something about vitamins and supplements at the end of this video, but if it gets too long, then I may just bump that to a part 2 type of thing. So, but hopefully we can get through it. I did actually make notes, so hopefully I can stay on track. So I am 9 months post-VSG or vertical sleeve gastrectomy weight loss surgery, which I had in Mexicali, Mexico with Dr. Aceves on November 29th, 2012. I have made similar videos at 3 months out, or I think it was actually at 12 weeks out, and I believe I talked about it as well around the 6-month mark. But let me start out by talking about my surgeon's plan. So my surgeon's plan is 600 to 800 calories for the full term of your weight loss phase, and then as many calories obviously as makes sense during maintenance. And I have to say that I am now actually up over my surgeon's recommendation calorie-wise. I just feel like that's the number of calories that I really need to fuel my body, to go about my daily activities, to work out and do all of that. And I've increased that just recently. So I've been under 800 probably for 8 months or so, in just the last 3 or 4 weeks maybe. Have raised it. So on most days now I'm going to be between about 800 and 850 calories. So I'm not that far over my surgeon's recommendation. I am still losing at that amount of calories, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. And I think that I eat quite a bit for 800 calories, and I also try and eat foods that are have nutritional value. I'm not saying I never eat things that, aren't nutritionally sound or whatever, but I try my best to avoid things that have sort of no value nutritionally. So mostly what I eat is protein and that sort of thing. So on the average day, again, at this point, I'm at about 800 to 850 calories. I generally get between, on most days, I would say 90 to 100 grams of protein, but let's say somewhere between 80 and 110 grams of protein on the average day. Carbs, I am a little bit more lax than I used to be, only because I've raised them a bit and it doesn't seem to have affected my loss or my cravings. So right now I try to keep it under around 60 grams. Most days I'm probably around 50, but it varies, probably between 40 and 60. A lot of the carbs I take in, that's gross carbs, by the way, not net carbs. A lot of the carbs I take in are sugar alcohols, and some are fiber. So if I was calculating net carbs, I'm probably really still like under 30 on most days. So if you've done Atkins or you know about net carbs, then yeah, that's what I'm doing as far as net carbs are concerned. Fats, I don't really concern myself too much with. Again, that kind of takes care of itself as long as I'm under my calorie total. But on the average day, I'm probably between 25 and 40 grams of fat. And I do try and eat as many good fats as I can. So nuts, coconut oil, avocado, that sort of thing. That's a fairly big part of my diet. From a macro point of view, I generally aim for 40% or more protein per day, 30% fat, 30% carbs, which is fairly common for most healthy diets. So, as far as carbs go, I do not eat, I don't eat generally on any kind of basis pasta or rice or potato. So extremely rarely, and usually it's just going to be a bite. I do eat some crackers and some bread, but I would say that's probably once a week, and usually it's going to be like a rice cracker or something like that. It's not going to be a regular cracker. So I don't eat a lot of wheat, and I may eat some kind of flatbread, but even that I've gotten away from. It doesn't sit very well for me, so I don't eat a whole lot of that stuff. So any kind of other carbs usually come from things like oatmeal, which I've started adding into my diet on the days that I work out because I'd like to get those carbs in the morning, and that's, sort of a healthy way of getting carbs. So that's carbs, because I know people are always asking me about that. Weighing and measuring. Yes, I still do it. I'm getting better at guesstimating, but at the same time, I like to weigh and measure everything. So I do weigh pretty much everything that I can. As long as I'm at home, I'm weighing. The only exception is if I know specifically that something is portioned in a certain amount. So I'm not going to weigh something like a cheese stick because I know it's already been weighed and it's portioned into a small portion that I'm eating. So if I'm eating one serving of a one serving thing, then I'm not going to weigh it. Or even half of a one serving. So if I have a Quest bar and I say I'm eating half of it, I don't like weigh it to make sure that I cut it exactly in half. I'm probably pretty close. But anything else where I'm giving myself a serving of something, I do weigh it or measure it. I tend to prefer weighing. I don't think that measuring is as accurate because obviously if you think about, a cup of broccoli versus a cup of chicken, that's two completely different things. When people talk about, oh, well, I eat half a cup of food. Well, half a cup of food could be radically different depending on the food you're talking about. So, yeah, I weigh everything. And when it comes to sleeve capacity, I can generally eat about 3 ounces of meat. That is my limit. And then usually that's it. I can't eat 3 ounces of meat plus vegetables plus whatever. It's generally going to be 3 ounces of meat or 2 ounces of meat and a little bit of vegetable or a little bit of salad, but that's it. Things that are more liquid, so something like yogurt, I can generally eat about 6 ounces of yogurt at a time. Maybe I could push in 8 if I really tried, but I generally don't. So the most of anything that I could really have is about a cup. That's all it's going to fit for me, even at 9 months out. Tracking, do I still do that? Absolutely. Track every day with MyFitnessPal, take photos of all my food, post them on Instagram, post them on Facebook, post a wrap up at the end of the day on my Facebook timeline. That is, both for me to track and also to stay accountable, and because a lot of people I know struggle with, choices on what to eat and that sort of thing. So hopefully it's helping some people, just sort of showing them my food choices on a daily basis, but it does definitely keep me accountable. So that's a good thing. Protein choices. So what are my proteins of choice? I talked about, I did a video about protein shakes and protein bars and that sort of thing. So protein shake wise, what I do right now is either Premier Protein Vanilla, and not very often. My daily protein shake is generally going to be half Isopure zero carb protein powder and half Fit Frappe of one flavor or another, with some ice and some Torani or Da Vinci sugar-free syrup, blended up in the blender like a frappe. Delicious. Love it. Protein bars, I do Quest. I've actually started buying some samples of different bars as well, just to sort of see what's out there. So I kind of have a ridiculous protein bar stash. I've got probably 50 or 60 at least right now. So yeah, more than I'd actually ever need. But if there's some kind of terrible, zombie apocalypse, I will at least have protein bars and be able to survive. Protein choices as far as regular everyday foods. I do a lot of yogurt. I do a lot of chicken. I do a lot of poultry generally, so chicken and turkey, ground turkey. I do a little bit of ground beef, very little beef of any kind, to be honest. Very little pork. It's mostly chicken and fish or seafood. I do a lot of seafood. You'll see a lot of shrimp. When I go out, often I'll eat seafood. So, those are my protein choices on an everyday basis. I do eat a lot of cheese as well, so lots of dairy, although I don't actually use milk. I generally use coconut milk, which is my favorite, or sometimes almond milk. Every once in a while I get non-fat milk, like if I'm at Starbucks getting an iced coffee or whatever. But yeah, those are my everyday protein choices. I still eat a large proportion of protein only. If you see my postings either in my Facebook group called Hey WLSers, What Are You Eating Today? Or on Instagram, you'll see every meal is pretty much protein. There's very little of anything else. Very little in the way of vegetables still, unfortunately. I probably get maybe a serving of vegetables a day. Very little fruit as well. Again, that's not going to be forever, but during this weight loss phase, because I still have quite good restriction, to be able to get my protein in, I have to sort of let those things fall by the wayside. And I'm hoping that once I get into the maintenance part of my journey, that I'll be able to add in more whole foods, more fresh foods, more fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. Hopefully more whole grains as well, but again, the carbs with all of those things are an issue for some people, so I just have to see how my body reacts at that point. So right now I still do pretty much a heavily protein-based diet. A typical day of eating for me, breakfast is generally at this point going to be either a protein shake or it might be either a slow cooked steel cut oats or overnight oatmeal made with Greek yogurt. I've experimented a little bit with doing a quiche in the slow cooker, so I've had that for breakfast a couple mornings, but generally it's most days going to be a protein shake. Lunch is usually, again, just some kind of protein with some kind of dip on the side. So, for example, it might be something like a roasted chicken or roasted turkey, just chicken, slices. It might be deli meat, but there's usually always going to be some kind of component of either a guacamole, a yogurt dip, some kind of something moist to keep that meat moist. I do find that if I don't have something to dip my meat into, that it is harder to digest for me. It sits heavier, so I usually have something to dip. Dinner, again, it depends. I've been trying to make some new things, so I've done things like turkey mini meatloaves. I've done things like, I did a slow cooker cream cheese chicken chili, which was really good. Right now, we're just starting, and this is mostly due to circumstance, not from my eating habits because of VSG, but just because of our family, I was going to say issues, not really issues, but my husband's work and kids' activities. We don't usually eat together. My husband normally comes home too late, and the kids were too little and they were going to bed too early, but we've sort of worked it out so that starting next week, we're going to actually be eating together as a family every night, or hopefully every night, most nights. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to be cooking for the family more, and so that's going to be interesting because I'm going to probably need to be adjusting what I'm eating to be more, I guess, things that I can feed them as well. So I'll probably be doing a lot of, making pasta with meatballs, but just eating meatballs or only eating part of the meal, which I'm sure is what most people do. So I've kind of been spoiled in being able to just worry about myself and feed the kids and my husband separately. So we'll see how that goes. I'll have to update you guys. And then I do usually have 2 to 3 snacks. So my day generally consists of 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks. So on the average day, I would say I probably eat 5 times. The thing is, the snacks are usually fairly close to the size of the meals calorie-wise as well. So it is kind of like 5 or 6 small meals generally a day. I know some surgeons say 3 meals a day. I wouldn't be able to survive on 3 meals a day because I can't get in enough food. Because my restriction is still that good. So I do need those meals. I do find that after 3 to 4 hours I am hungry and I need to eat. Otherwise, angry Sarah comes out and she's really crabby. So for me, whether that's blood sugar related, I don't know, I need to eat every 3 to 4 hours. And it's pretty much been like that for the last, I would say, 2 or 3 months. I talked about vegetables and fruit. I talked about carbs. What don't I eat? I hate saying I don't eat this, I don't eat that. I don't really eat white carbs of any variety. I don't eat a lot of carbs in general. Really no whole grains and that sort of thing even. At this point, the exception being oatmeal and again, the occasional like rice cracker or something similar. Or maybe protein chips or something like that. I stay away from sugary things usually, so I don't eat cookies, I don't eat donuts, I don't eat cake, I don't eat any of that stuff. I don't eat anything with a lot of fat, so I don't eat hamburgers and that sort of thing usually, just because it doesn't sit well for me, and obviously the more fat, the higher the calories. So I stay away from what most people would consider to be crappy food. I don't eat any fast food. The exception is probably chili from Wendy's, and that's if I'm splurging. I wouldn't say that I eat cleanly necessarily, but in the sense of fast food and highly processed foods, I don't eat a lot of that stuff. So that's what I don't eat. The 1 bite rule, I want to kind of do an update on that. I've talked about the 1 bite rule before. Sorry, my butt's falling asleep. I've talked about the 1 bite rule before. That was my way of dealing with foods I was having cravings for, something I really, really wanted that someone else was eating. I still employ the 1 bite rule. It usually works. Sometimes there might be 2 bites if it's pizza or something that's really, really delicious, but that still pretty much works for me. A bite or 2 and the craving is kind of over with. So that is great. So anyway, I'm almost at 15 minutes, so I'm going to have to do a part 2 to this video talking about vitamins and supplements, so you will see that very soon. See you in a minute.